Kuminga requested a trade, and the Warriors already responded, report, Dub Nation family, for everything. Kuminga asked for a trade, and the Warriors have already responded, according to a report. If you are a fan, I know the pain. Again, a soap opera. Again, that feeling that the team could lose a piece and be stuck in the almost. And the question is this the beginning of the end? Or the adjustment needed to get back to fighting loudly? Stay with me because in the next few minutes I'm going to show you what's behind this request, what the Warriors' real response was, and especially what the most likely scenarios are, from staying and getting it right to trading with a return that makes sense. By the end, you'll know exactly what to expect and how it impacts the season. Before I show you what the Warriors responded and the most likely scenario of this soap opera, do the following quickly. Subscribe to the channel now so you don't get lost when the next update comes out, because this story changes at any moment. Leave a like too, because it is the signal for YouTube to deliver this video to more Warriors fans, and we can fill the comments with Dub Nation. And activate the bell seriously. It's what guarantees you that you'll see it first when you paint the last-minute bomb. Now comment below very quickly. Kuminga stays or Kuminga leaves? I will read and respond to the most angry ones. Did it close? So stick with me because now I'm going straight to the point. What this report says, what is fact versus rumor, and what is the move that could change the Warriors from now on. When I saw this report circulating, the first thing I thought was, okay, here we go again. Because anyone who really follows the Warriors knows that it's not just about one player. It's about that constant feeling that the team is always one adjustment away from fitting in for good, and at the same time, always one decision away from dismantling an important part of the future. And that's exactly why this Kuminga issue affects us so much. Today I want to talk to you like I would talk to a friend who sits next to me to watch a game. Without exaggeration, without gratuitous drama, but also without pretending that it doesn't hurt. Because it hurts. It hurts to see a young, physical, explosive talent with real potential to become one of the pillars of the franchise reach a point where, according to the most recent information, he asks for a trade, and from then on, everything becomes a ticking clock. The news is that the request happened just when he became eligible to be traded, and this completely changes the atmosphere inside and outside the locker room. It's no longer an internet rumor. It's a sign that the relationship is at its limit and that a definition may be closer than it seemed. And then the other side comes in, the side that fans often try to push under the carpet, but that always comes back. The Warriors are not just thinking about if Kuminga is good. The Warriors are thinking about what the team needs now to compete. What makes sense with Curry on the court, what Kerr trusts in moments when the game is tight, and what is possible within the salary puzzle. And when we put all this together, this type of scenario appears that is being discussed. Initial exploratory conversations with the Dallas Mavericks, with Daniel Gafford as a piece that emerged in the discussions. It doesn't mean it's closed. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it means there's enough smoke for us to look carefully and understand why this name appears. Gafford is not that star center who will make you get up off the couch every night because of 30 points. The issue here is different. What seems to draw the Warriors' attention is the fit, an athletic pivot who protects the rim, who runs the court, who finishes close to the basket, and who offers physical presence on a team that, in many games, suffers precisely when the opponent decides to win the game with contact, rebounds, and the painted area. And I know you've felt this watching. There are games in which the Warriors play beautifully, the ball turns, the defense pressures. And even so, it seems like there's a lack of body under the rim. There's a lack of a guy who makes the opponent think twice before attacking the basket. That's the kind of void that a player like Gafford can fill when he's in the right context. Now, let me bring you to the center of this conversation, because this isn't just cold analysis. The pain of Warriors fans today is double. First, the pain of seeing a promising young man become a soap opera, as if the team was unable to turn potential into reality with consistency. Second, the pain of realizing that the Warriors are, once again, halfway between two worlds. A world in which you try to develop, be patient, grow with young people, and another world in which you look at Curry's window and think, you can't waste a season waiting for someone to learn how to fit in. It's cruel, but it's real. And when a player asks for a trade, this conflict becomes impossible to ignore. But what we need to do here, at Warriors Family TV is separate emotion from information without losing humanity. So let's take it easy. What is being reported is not Warriors closed a deal. What is circulating is that there is interest, there is conversation, there is monitoring, there is that type of movement that happens when the trade deadline approaches and teams start to explore possibilities. And the calendar matters a lot. The deadline is February 5th, 2026 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and from then on, there is no more talk about this season. Either resolve it sooner or wait until later with wear and tear that is much more difficult to manage. And here comes a question that I'm sure you've already asked out loud. Why would the Warriors do that? The most direct answer is because the Warriors are looking for solutions that improve the team now, and one of the clearest needs is to have more athletic presence in the paint. In some games, Draymond needs to play the role of center for long minutes, and this takes a physical toll. In others, you depend on combinations that work on a good night, but don't last a long series against a big, aggressive team. And yes, there is a squad, there are young players, there is a rotation, but when it comes to real basketball, the team needs reliable tools. An athletic center and rim protector becomes a tool. And then there's the financial side, which is where a lot of people get lost. This famous number, $54 million, is not a random value thrown into the title just to impress. He is linked to Gafford's contract extension, which is approximately 3 years and just over $54 million, with annual values starting next season. This means that if the Warriors trade for him, they are not getting a contract that disappears tomorrow, is making a medium-term commitment. For some fans, this is scary. For others, this is precisely what provides stability in a position that lives as a patchwork. And the Warriors, according to several market readings, tend to prefer expiring contracts when it comes to exchanging Kuminga, unless the return is really considered very good. So the question becomes even more interesting. If Gafford's name came up, how worthwhile do the Warriors consider this type of play to be in the medium term? Now, I want you to pay attention to an important nuance, because this is where the story gets deeper. The problem was never just, is Kuminga good or bad? The problem has been function, trust, and continuity. There are reports that he started the season with a status, then lost space, and ended up out of the rotation for a period. This, for any young player, changes your mind, your rhythm, your identity. And for a player who is already at a point in his career where he wants to assert himself and also wants to be paid as a protagonist, the frustration grows. It's not hard to understand why an exchange request appears in this scenario, and it's also not difficult to understand why the Warriors, looking at the whole thing, might decide that the best thing for both sides is to close this chapter before it becomes even more stressful. But I don't want you to leave here with that bitter feeling of, so it's over, that's it, because it isn't. The solution, in this case, may exist precisely in the definition. What kills a team from within is not changing a player. What kills is staying in maybe for too long, with everyone walking on eggshells, with the fan divided, with the committee trying to win the game and manage the atmosphere, with the player trying to prove his value without having the right context. So when I say solution, I'm talking about clarity. Either the Warriors find a way to reintegrate Kuminga with a role that makes sense and with a real bridge of trust, or they transform this talent into a piece that corrects a weakness in the squad and gives the team more balance. And if the conversation really goes in the direction of looking for an athletic pivot, I'll tell you what that means in practice. Without promising miracles, it means reducing the need for improvisation. It means having more security when the opponent starts attacking the rim without stopping. It means allowing Draymond to act closer to what he does best, with freedom, energy, and reading the game, without always fighting with bigger players on every play. It means having more chances to turn good defense into transition, because defensive rebounding becomes more consistent. And above all, it means something that Warriors fans value greatly: identity. Because we recognize when the team has a clear identity. And today, part of the discomfort is precisely feeling that the team alternates identities depending on the game and the night's fit. Now, about Dallas. Why would the Mavericks do this? If there is interest on the other side, it could come from Kuminga's profile as a young, athletic player with the ability to attack the basket and grow in another system. There is also the fact that he has a co-treat with flexibility for the receiving team. This makes his name attractive in the market, even with the current situation, and that's why you see different teams being mentioned as interested, with the Mavericks appearing in some conversations. The competition for an athlete with this type of physical tool always exists, because all it takes is the right fit for him to explode. So what do we do with all this? As fans and as someone who really wants to understand, we focus on three things: time, type of return, and context. The clock is ticking until February 5th. The type of return is the central question. The Warriors want contracts that don't tie up the future, but they also can't trade an important talent for nothing and expect the squad to magically improve. And the context is what defines whether a center like Gafford becomes a valuable piece or just another name on the list. Because athletic centers work when they have coverage, when they have a system, when they have a collective commitment, when the team knows what they want to do defensively. I'm not going to sell you a certainty here that no one has. What I'm going to promise you is something else. That you will leave this video understanding the scenario clearly, without an inflated headline, knowing what is a rumor, what is a real market signal, and what are the paths that make sense for the Warriors. And above all, you will be able to recognize in the coming days which news is just noise and which are real movements. Because when the deadline approaches, the noise increases, the titles become more aggressive, and our heads become chaos. The idea here is to bring order to this. And let me finish this part with a very human point. If Kuminga leaves, it doesn't need to become a witch hunt. You can regret it. You can feel that it could have been different. You can question decisions. And at the same time, understand that sometimes the best ending to a story is the one that allows everyone to breathe again. If he stays, we also need to be honest. It will only work if there is a clear plan and if both parties buy into that plan. Without this, it becomes a repetition of what already hurt. So now come with me, because from now on, I'm going to open the report with you. Explain why Gafford's name appears in these conversations, what the Warriors gain, and what they risk, and what signs we need to monitor until February 5th. In the end, you will have made up your mind not because someone shouted louder, but because you understood the entire puzzle. And now I want to leave you with a very clear idea, the kind that keeps echoing after the video ends. The Warriors are in one of those moments where a decision doesn't just change a rotation, it changes the direction of the season. Because if Kuminga really asked for a trade and the team is already responding behind the scenes, it's not about losing a young man or gaining a center. It's about choosing between continuing to live off improvised adjustments or solving once and for all one of the cast's biggest pain points. And the truth is that when the trade deadline arrives, there will be no replay, there will be no return, there will be no "let's see later." Either it's now or it becomes a scar. So I really want to hear from you. Do you think the Warriors have to hold on to Kuminga and rebuild trust? Or do you think the best way is to transform this asset into a piece that fits right away, especially in the paint? Write in the comments, stay or leave, and explain why. Because I will read, I will respond, and I want to understand how Dub Nation is seeing this. And pay attention to this part because it's important. If you want to follow this soap opera clearly, without getting lost in eye-catching headlines, and without falling into empty rumors, I've left a complete playlist for you. It will be in the pinned comment, Warriors Analysis. Click on it when you're done here because there I organize everything in sequence, context, fit, market, and what each movement means for the team. It's the fastest way for you to stay up to date and understand each piece of this puzzle. Now do the following. Open the pinned comment, go to the Warriors Analysis playlist, choose the next video, and come with me. Because if this exchange happens, or if the Warriors decide to keep Kuminga, the impact will be immediate, and you'll want to be one step ahead, not chasing the news.